And YouTube's up. Okay, so it is really, really hot outside. And I think I'm just going to leave that window closed because it's crazy. And I'm sure wherever you guys are is probably just as crazy. So today, oh my God. Oh, I'm not late, even with the Joel. Today I thought we would work on a little bit of upper body. We'll do everything, of course, but the idea is like a lot of planks and, of course, in the sun salutes and everything. But to remember to engage the middle to make it easier, right? We don't stand on our arms very often, and maybe we'll do that too. But to build the strength for the upper body to handle these things. And of course, building bone and all muscles is always a good thing, right? So that's kind of my direction. And remember, you can change things up a little bit. You can add a twist in here or there, or you can skip a particular posture if that's what's right for you. So just remember that any class you can get what you need out of it, right? So let's go ahead and we'll get started. Go ahead and come to standing. Hey, over on YouTube. All right. So at the top of your mat here, and as always, right, find your foundation. Right now, that's your feet, maybe not later. So feet right up underneath the hip bones, toes pointing forward, pressing down into the four corners. Really activate that there. A little tuck of the tailbone, lifting the pelvic floor, lower belly in and up. We're standing nice and tall. See if you can gain an extra couple inches here. Relax your shoulders. Chin is parallel to the floor, ears are over shoulders. And we close our eyes. And just allow yourself to become present in the moment. Noticing how your body feels this morning. And begin to notice your breath without changing it if you can. And just becoming aware of the more natural flow. And gradually begin to let that breath expand. So the inhales get a little bigger. Exhales get a little bit more complete. Until you eventually find a place that is just beyond comfortable. So making even the breath a little bit of a stretch, a little bit of work. And remember, as we move through our poses, to sort of keep what you have here. So you're engaged in your foundation, you're engaged through your core, you're conscious and aware of your breath. And the body's aligned, yeah? So no matter where else you are, this is all happening. Let's go ahead and begin to add in some movement. With the next inhale, take the arms and stretch them up toward the ceiling, keeping the shoulders relaxed. And then exhale, bring them back down again. We'll do it again. One more time. Coming back to the top. Go ahead and interlace your fingers here. You can rotate the palms toward the ceiling if you like. Exhale, tip yourself over to the right. And then inhale, come on back to center. So move side to side, take it to the left. Back to the middle, following your breath. Notice that your foundation stays even. Your belly's working. Obviously, you're connected to your breath here. We're gonna go once more on each side, so see if you can move in a little bit deeper. When you're back to the middle, go ahead and release. So taking the hands to the thighs here, belly still in, shoulders are back now. Exhale, come forward into a little half fold kind of place. Lean if you need. And then bend in the knees, we're gonna inhale, roll back up again. So exhale as you come forward, keep the back kind of flat, and then round it back up. Take a couple more like that. We're gonna exhale, come forward into that half fold again, and this time hold it. So the belly's in, the shoulders are back, leaning if you feel like you need to lean. Otherwise, the hands just kind of hang out here for a little second anyway. Go ahead and bend into your knees then. Rest the forearms on the thighs. Take the left arm and sweep it up toward the ceiling. You can lean, right? Make it big and off-centered if you like. You don't have to. And then come on back to the middle and switch. And then releasing that twist. Take the legs straight again, back into this half fold. Belly's in, shoulders are back, leaning if you need to lean. If you have a deeper fold, go ahead and gently make your way there now. Take your time. Allow the hands to be where they need to. So whether that's up on your thighs, on your shins, if you touch the floor, lovely, but remember that's not the goal. Let's go ahead and open in the feet a little bit, take a straddle, and not crazy wide yet. But allow your toes to continue to point forward here. And we're gonna take the hands and just walk them over to the right. And just like with the twist, allow your body to lean a little bit. And then coming back to center and switch over to the left. Back to the middle again here. Opening the feet a step or so wider. So still not the widest position you have yet. Right? Toes point forward, even on the four corners of the feet. We're going to stay even with the feet this time and walk the hands back over to the right. So whether your hands are on the floor or your foot or the shin or your thigh, doesn't matter. And then come on back to the middle, same idea over to the left. Back to the center again. Opening your feet a step wider. So again, find something that's just a little bit of a stretch, even on the feet here. And you're gonna take your hands to the floor. So if you need to bend your knees to make it happen, go ahead, right? Palms are flat on the mat. From there, see if you can keep them flat on the mat and draw them back so that the tips of your toes line up with the tips of your fingers, roughly, right? And again, if you need to bend, go ahead and bend. So hands point forward just like we do in, say, down dog or tabletop or whatever. We're gonna push down into the floor with the hands. Really make the upper body work here. Pulling the lower belly in. And envision, anyway, picking your feet up off the floor. Doesn't have to happen, obviously, just make it work. So then go ahead and release that. We're gonna walk the hands back in.
right up underneath the hip bones. So again, here the toes point forward. You're even on the four corners of the feet. Pull the belly in, keep the shoulders back, slide your hands back up to your thighs here. Into the half fold we go. So again, if you need to be leaning, absolutely lean. If you don't really need to lean, we're gonna work with the arms a little bit to work the belly. So keeping the shoulders back, the legs straight and the hips over the ankles. The easier way to do it basically is to bend the knees and sit the hips back, but we're not looking for easy, right? We're working here. So lean if you need. Otherwise, the arms need to be just down by the sides of the body, hugging into the hips and waist. Palms face the floor. If you can manage it and keep everything else as it is, take the arms out to the sides, right? So we're adding a little bit of body weight, and if that's enough, that's enough. Keep the belly working to protect your back. Maybe take the arms forward. Arms alongside the ears, shoulders are back, belly's in. From here, bend into the knees, we're sitting in the chair. So the arms are still where you need the arms to be, and that might not be extended, right? Even on the four corners of the feet, the belly's working. If you feel like your butt's sticking out, tuck your tailbone under. We're gonna take one more breath. Inhale as we reach to the ceiling. And then exhale, release the arms. All right. So to the top of the mat, if you're not already there. Camera's got a little bit wonky. That might be a cat. So working our sun salutes, remember to start off easy. We can add or not, right? Belly in is important. So let's inhale here, switch the arms to the ceiling. Exhale, take yourself over into fold. All the way down. Halfway up on an inhale. And then exhale and step your feet back into plank. Take it to the knees, elbows tight to the sides, all the way down to the belly. Okay? Hands next to the side ribs. We're going to hug the elbows in and roll the shoulders. Nice easy little cobra, baby cobra. Releasing that. Everything up off the floor together, back to our down dog. Inhaling, step the feet forward. One step or 25, whatever it takes to get there. And then halfway up on your next inhale. Exhale back into the plank, into the fold. And then reach for the ceiling. Exhale, release. So that's a very simple variation, and if that's what works for you, use it. Right? Adding on a little bit, maybe. Inhale, lift up. Exhale, fold forward. Inhale, come halfway up. Exhale, step back into a plank. Knees if you need still, otherwise no knees, all the way to the belly, everything to the floor together. Inhale, as you roll your shoulders, pull with your hands, opening up into a little bit deeper cobra, and then everything up off the floor together, back to down dog. Inhaling, step forward. Next inhale, we come halfway up. Fold over again. And then all the way up. Releasing at the top. So one more of that variation, and you can make it, the cobras a little bit bigger. You can make your plank a little bit slower and more controlled to the floor, right? Make it yours. So I'm not going to talk though. If you get lost, take me. Inhale, lift up. And you're on your own. Go. So adding on with our variations, remember you don't have to. You can take an extra breath here or there if you need.
Okay, so listening to our bodies here. On the inhale this time, we're gonna sit into a chair. And then exhale over into the fold. Inhale halfway up. Exhale back to plank. Take it down. Inhale into your cobra. Exhale, come back to down dog. And on my inhale, step the right foot forward, lunge. Work your toes up there, drop the back heel or knee. We're gonna lift up. Exhale, come on back down into down dog. Inhale forward for plank. Exhale to the belly. Halfway up. Back to down dog. Left foot forward. Heel or knee down, we lift. Come on back down again and into down dog. Forward for plank. Drop to the belly. Into cobra. And back to your down dog. Take child's pose if you need. Big full breaths. If you drop down, go ahead and lift back to your down dog. And on the next inhale, step the feet forward, come standing fold. Halfway up. Fold back over. And then all the way up. And then release the arms. All right. So we're gonna work on that plank a little bit more, but we'll do a couple standing poses first to give the upper body a little bit of a break. So let's take a nice big step back with the left foot. I'm gonna start off in warrior two here, so check in with your toes, make sure they're pointing in the right direction, bending into the knee, look for your big toe, stack your knee, and find where that is, find where the stretch is, where's the work. Extending the arms parallel to the floor, shoulders and hips parallel to the floor, belly's working. From here, take the right elbow, form to the thigh, left arm up and over the ear. So we're working into the straight line from the left fingertips through the left foot. Leaning on the leg, if you need to lean on the leg like we do in chair. Should be able to see the ceiling underneath the lifted arm. You don't have to look at it, but you might be able to see it. Take the left hand toward the ceiling and slowly take the right leg straight. So the arm can hang where it is, right? You can reach down toward your shin. Maybe you touch the floor, but not at the expense of your triangle, right? So keep the upper body open to the side of the room. The hips and shoulders in the same plane. Let's balance from here. So take the left hand to the hip just to give it a little bit of a break. Bend back into the right knee and take your hand forward of your foot. You can adjust it as you go for sure. Hop in, and when you're ready, lift those left toes up off the floor. And maybe the right leg is straight and the left foot is hip height, and maybe not quite. Don't panic about that either way. The left arm can lift toward the ceiling. Think stacking your shoulders and hips, looking up toward the lifted hand if you like. And then step it all back into a lunge. And down to down dog, or back to down dog. Go ahead and drop on down to the knees and take a couple of breaths in child's pose. From
here, shift forward into a kneeling plank. So I know we've been in full planks already, but we're going to work with the knees for just a second. So wrists under shoulders, unless that's too tough on the shoulders, you can have the hands a bit forward. Right? You don't want to go too crazy. Shoulders are neutral on the back, the belly's in, so the pelvis does not hang, or the butt does not stick up in the air. So from here, bend your elbows enough to bring them in line with your ribs, and then stop. Hug your forearms, your upper arms, into your rib cage, and push back up again. Go ahead and sit back, child's pose. And then we're going to do the same thing. So back to your kneeling plank. Find the middle, right? Find your alignment here. Bend your elbows just enough to bring them in line. So you're in the middle. Upper body still looks like it did. Push back up. Sit back to child's pose. One more time like that. Come forward. Again, find that neutral position first, and then lower halfway. This time, lower all the way, but everything hits the floor together. Now, things might stick out a little further, so one might hit a little faster than the other, but you get the idea, right? You're not sagging toward the floor. So, leaving the hands back by the side ribs here, we want to hug the elbows in toward the body. Okay? Pull the belly in, and you'll kind of feel your tailbone tuck a little bit. And imagine lifting your belly away from the floor. It's not actually going to leave the floor, but engage those muscles so that it feels like it could. Keeping the elbows in, press into your knees, and barely lift your body up off the floor, like an inch, but everything together, right? So tiny little bit, all of everything down. Tiny little bit, everything down. And a bunch of times, being really aware of the fact that everything does leave the floor together, right? You're not just pushing your chest up, or you're not just lifting your butt up. Everything up and down together. So it should be tiring, right? Even though it doesn't look like anything. Go ahead and release all that and take your hands down by your sides. So you can interlace your fingers behind your lower back here. We're gonna work in the locust while we're down, right? Might as well. Working with the upper body first. Glue your feet to the floor, the tops of your feet, glue to the floor. And then roll your shoulders like we did in Cobra, curling the chest away from the floor. Stretch the fingers back for the heels, for the knuckles if your fingers are interlaced, and then release it. So hands next to the side ribs again. Everything up off the floor together, back to your kneeling plank. Sit back to your child's pose. And back to down dog. So let's go ahead and step that right foot forward to the hands again. Walk the hands around into a straddle. Wider probably here now, right? Give yourself a second here in the middle, get a nice little stretch. And then coming back, turn your right toes in a little bit, your left foot toward the back of your mat, lifting the upper body. We should be somewhere like warrior two. So finding your feet, watching for the big toe over here, and extending the arms.
We'll bend the left arm, rest the forearm on the thigh, right arm over the ear. Leaning if you must lean. Transitioning to triangle, so right arm stretching toward the ceiling, left leg is straight, leaning on the leg if you need to lean. Otherwise, the arm just dangles down from that left shoulder. From here, we're going to move to balance. Take the right hand to the hip, bend the left knee, and bring that hand forward-ish of the foot. Right, remember that adjusts. Popping in, and then lifting that right foot. Extending the arm, maybe looking toward the right hand if that's you. And then bend back into the knee, drop into lunge. Step back to down dog. All right, so let's shift forward. Well, go ahead and drop the knees, take child's pose. Making it even on the sides. And just bring up that part. Let's come forward. You can absolutely take the knees again here, or make your way into full plank. So shoulders neutral on the back, the belly's working, the body is in alignment here from the crown of your head to your heels. Okay. From here, bend your elbows, bring them in line with the ribs, stop and hover, and drop down. So working into our locust again, right? Take the arms and make a little pillow for your head. We're going to work with just a lower body for a second. Spread your toes nice and wide and extend your big toe toward the wall behind you. Big toes. Lifting the legs using your hamstrings rather than just squeezing your butt. Take another big breath. And then release it. Let's put it together. Let's go for a full. So the arms either down by your sides. If you want to get all fancy and stretch them forward, that's fine, but that's a lot of work. Remember your alignment here. So interlacing the fingers if you choose. Roll your shoulders, curling your chest, extend through the big toes, lifting your legs. Keep them straight, so don't worry about how high they are. Let's go ahead and release it. Take the hands next to the side ribs, hugging those elbows in, either full or kneeling plank halfway up, pausing in the middle. And then all the way up and back into a child's pose. And then we're going to move back to down dog. Step the left foot forward, back to our lunge. And walk the hands back around into the center of the straddle. So here, we're going to play with balance again a little bit. Well, in a second. Let's walk the feet in just wider than the hands. And you can make them a little wider, a little bit more narrow, listening to your body to make it right for you. So getting the fingertips to the floor, bending the knees if you need to bend the knees, not a big deal.
See about sliding the hands between the feet like we did. And your palms aren't necessarily flat here. If you want to work that, that's fine. But that's not really where we're going right this second. So from here, again, bending the knees as much as you need. Take the hands and see if you can bring them back behind your heels. Bending, shifting, dropping the hips, like leaving them high, whatever works. Maybe taking the hands up and over the tops of the feet. And your toes may turn out. That helps me a little bit wider, sometimes works better. See if you can drop your hips. And then imagine your back becoming table-like, right? Parallel to the floor. Let's go ahead and gently release it. Straighten your legs, bounce around a little bit, drop into a child's pose. Take just a little mini break here. Big breaths. And we're going to work that a little bit differently this time. So come up onto your hands and knees. And bring the feet again just behind into the outsides of your hands. So notice how close your knees are to your armpits here. And they might not be in the armpits. Don't panic about it. They don't have to be, but just kind of be aware of where they are. And here, we want to keep the hands flat to the floor again, shoulder width apart, just like we did earlier. And see if you can wiggle your knees in toward your armpits. Kind of shift a little bit. And just kind of check it out, how close you can get. And notice when your knees are toward your armpits, your shins are in contact with your triceps, yeah? Reps of your arms. So just kind of wiggle around and check it out. I have to come up on my toes and shift, so that might be something that you have to make a little bit of an adjustment for. And it's totally fine here. Let's go ahead and release all that. Drop down and sit back. We don't want to get the body too sick of being in that space before we're doing the fun stuff. So if you were getting your knees anywhere near your armpits, your shin should have been in some sort of contact with your triceps, right? So let's see if we can use that. Back to hands and knees. Feet behind and outside the hands again a little bit here. Work to get both knees in toward the armpits as good as it's going to get. And again here, there's this contact between the shins and the triceps. So if you bend your elbows, if they're not already, your triceps become kind of a shelf for your shins, right? See if you can shift enough weight into your hands that you could lift a foot. Maybe the other one. Sometimes one's easier than the other, okay? So just kind of play with that. Where does your weight need to be balanced that you could lift a foot or a toe? Right? Even shifting to the big toe, maybe. Take a little break. And that can be fun for your triceps, right? It's a lot of weight and wiggling around on your triceps. And so now you have two different goals, right? You can basically just work your knees in toward your armpits. You can start shifting your weight, right? So that it's more in the hands than the feet, maybe just lifting a toe. Or you can try and go for flying, right? So come back to hands and knees. Knees in toward armpits, leaning on the shins a little bit. Maybe one foot. Maybe both feet. Toes touch. Big heels toward your butt. and look forward, not back. So play with that for a little bit. And if you get a little air, even for a second, it's kind of fun, right? So take just a couple more breaths, play wherever you are. And then come on down and rest. Take child's pose. So that pose is not the reason to build up our body strength and core strength, right? But it's fun to use it that way. So let's go ahead and come sit up on the heels and bring the legs around front. That's enough. Enough. Or not. So take the legs, extend them up long, wiggle them around a little bit. Sitting nice and tall, upright on the pelvis, lifting the spine. Reach the arms, and we'll come forward, fold. Nice big breaths here. With an inhale, go ahead and bring yourself back up to the top. And release the arms. So go ahead and take the feet flat to the floor. Roughly a 90-degree bend in the knee, roughly. Palms flat to the floor, about a handprint behind your hips. Shoulder width apart, fingers point toward the body. Unless that's too much for your shoulders, they can point out a little bit, but just kind of watch that. So we want to pull the shoulders together on the back and lift the chest. Four corners of the hands engaged into the mat, head in line with spine. Okay. Pull the belly in, pull the heels toward the hips, and lift the hips away from the floor. Nice big breaths here. And then release back down. Let's turn the fingers around to point behind, keeping the hands roughly shoulder width apart. And then see about walking the hands back. Little bend in the elbows if you're a hyperextender especially. You can lock out your elbows pretty good here. And just see where those arms will go. Another nice big breath. And then walk those hands back in. Roll your shoulders a little bit here. And then let's bring the soles of the feet together. Heels in toward the groin, sitting up nice and tall, right? So maintain your posture, head in line with the spine, shoulders down and back, belly's working, and then lean back to balance. So without releasing your feet to the floor if you can, take your index and middle fingers and wrap them around the big toes. Stay tall. See if you can extend your right leg. Don't worry about wide or straight. Just keep it straight to bird. Bring it back in. And then switch. Take your left leg straighter.
Bring that leg back in. And then take them both straight. Keep the chest lifted, the shoulders down and back. The belly's doing most of the work. You can hang on to your feet for a little bit extra support. And then bring the soles of the feet back together, hang on to the ankles again. For a moment here, release your belly and let your arms do all of the work holding you up. You should get a really nice stretch up the arms, across the shoulders, maybe your chest and upper back as well. And then re-engage the belly. Go ahead and C-curve your spine and roll on down to your back. Soles of the feet are going to stay together. Bring them to the floor. And just release the inner hip here. Bringing the knees together. And then gently hugging the knees into the chest and rocking. So we're going to keep the knees into the chest and then take your shins vertical. So you can 100% just use your hands at the backs of your thighs, pulling your knees down to your belly. See if you can reach up toward the soles of your feet, grab your feet. If you wanted to get really fancy, since we've already kind of done this, right? Take your hands between your feet, behind your heels, and grab for the outside edges of your feet. So, wherever you want to be. This is a little bit like we were when we were on our feet, right? So the idea is to keep the back kind of flat on the floor. So turning the tailbone toward the floor, dropping the shoulders down and back. They might not touch here, but that's the direction you want to go. Pressing or pulling the feet down, keeping the knees either in toward your armpits or just to the sides of your shoulders if you're wrapped around like that. Okay? And you can use your elbows here at your the backs of your thighs here, or your hands like we talked about at the very beginning of this, right? Pulling down. And maybe wiggle. And maybe you find that you're a little bit deeper than you were when you were on your hands and feet, right? Or your hands and knees. No, hands and feet. Keep pulling down with your arms, push back up with your feet. Turn your tailbone more toward the floor, drop your shoulders down and back again. And then gently release, taking the feet flat. Opening the knees out to the sides here if you like. Just releasing it all again. Bring the knees together. Make sure the belly's engaged. We're going to bring the knees over the hips and the shins parallel to the floor. So roughly that 90-degree bend in the knee again here. We want to keep that bend in the knee. Take your arms wherever works, across your belly, down by your sides, overhead, whatever. On an exhale, keeping the bend in the knee, take the left heel toward the floor, maybe just touch, don't rest it, and then bring it back on an inhale. So exhale the left or the right foot and back up. So like that with your breath, side to side. And we want to feel the lower belly, not the lower back. And if you're not feeling anything, stop bending your knee more. A lot of times people get here and just do this. That's fine, but it doesn't work. So go once more so that you're even left and right. And then when you're back to the middle, just go ahead and hug into knees to chest and rest for a second. So we're going to take that and add on to it if you want. Remember, you don't have to add, right? That was enough work. From here, back to set with the knees over the hips and the shins parallel to the floor. This time, arms are going to extend toward the ceiling. Try and keep your shoulders resting back, and we're going across the body. So as you exhale your left heel toward the floor, the right thumb is going to come to the floor overhead. And then we inhale back to the middle and switch to the right heel and the left thumb. And then back to center. So across the body, side to side. And sometimes the most difficult part is to keep the stationary body part stationary. The brain likes to work the same thing on the same side, right? See if you can keep that stationary limb where it belongs. We're going to do that same idea one more time on each side. And want to work even. When you are back to center, go ahead and hug the knees into the chest and rock again. Taking the feet flat to the floor. Let's go ahead and open the arms out into a T position here. And take your twist du jour, right? So whether you just let your knees fall to the right or you shift your hips left first, you cross your legs, you take your legs straight. A little bit of this and a little bit of that. Whatever works. We'll spend maybe a minute more here. So if you wanted to make or take a different variation, feel free. One more nice big breath. And then we'll make our way back to the middle. Whatever you did on the first side, take that idea to the second side. So it might not look exactly like it. You may need a little bit different variation over here. Just do what your body needs this morning. Taking just a few more breaths over here. And then gently making your way back up to the middle. And one last time, knees into the chest. Let yourself rock. And then squeeze those knees in as tight as you can get. See about pulling your forehead towards your knees. And release it. Take a full body stretch. Get really long. Releasing the stretch. And making your body comfortable for Shavasana. So regardless of where that is, maybe you're fully extended, maybe you need to prop. If you're somewhere it's not blistering hot, maybe you want a blanket. Checking in that the body feels aligned and comfortable. And then release your muscles. Feel as if you're melting into your mat. Releasing control of your breath. And just working to keep the mind present and quiet. Allowing yourself to rest deeply for just a few minutes here. Slowly draw in a deep cleansing breath and then let that go. Restoring small movements to the body first, gradually wiggling and stretching. And as you're ready, taking the feet to the floor, slowly making your way back to seated. Sitting well, bringing the palms to touch. Bowing to the leg again. Namaste. So I hope you feel strong. And if not, stronger next week and the week after. So enjoy your holiday weekend, and I'm kind of kicking a small group thing around in my head. So as I sort of flesh that out a little bit, I will share more. So stay tuned for that, and I will see you next weekend. Bye.